February 16, 2026, Tipp City, Ohio. A quiet town. The kind of place where nothing dramatic is supposed to happen, where people wave at neighbors they have known for years and sleep easily at night because the streets are calm, and the community is close, and life moves at a pace that feels deliberately ordinary. That morning, a 911 call shattered all of it. A man's voice on the line, steady, controlled. He reported a break-in. He said his wife had been shot. Police arrived immediately and found Ashley Flynn, 37 years old, dead inside her own home. 2 gunshot wounds. And at the entry point of the house, signs of forced entry, a damaged door, a scene designed to tell the story of an outside threat. That was the story Caleb Flynn needed everyone to believe. Ashley was not just any woman. She was a volleyball coach at Tippecanoe Middle School, a substitute teacher, a mother of 2 young daughters. Everyone who knew her described the same things: her warmth, her smile, the way her presence genuinely changed the feeling of a room. A woman who poured herself into the lives of people around her every single day. And her husband, the man on that 911 call, was a worship pastor, a man of stated faith, a man who had stood before congregations and preached about devotion and grace, a man who, in 2013, auditioned for American Idol and told the world that his wife Ashley was the reason he had the courage to try. He called her his reason. He called 911 the morning she was found with 2 bullets in her body. Investigators did not take long. They looked at the scene. They looked at the evidence. They looked at the damaged door and the man who made the call, and they started pulling threads. Fast. Within 82 hours, not weeks, not months, Caleb Flynn was in handcuffs. Think about that timeline. 82 hours from the moment Ashley was found dead to the moment her husband was arrested. That kind of speed does not happen when evidence is thin or scattered or open to interpretation. It happens when everything points in one direction so clearly that there is simply nowhere else to look. The town that was supposed to be quiet had a murder. The murder had a suspect, and the suspect was the man who made the call. He was a worship pastor, a father, a public figure built on the language of faith and love and devotion. And 82 hours after his wife was found dead, he was gone, arrested, taken in. The image he had spent years constructing dissolving in real time. But the 911 call was only the beginning. Because what investigators found when they looked beneath the surface of Caleb Flynn's life made the arrest look like the simple part. Like this video, subscribe to The Hidden Verdict and comment below. What do you think made investigators move so fast? We read every one. A worship pastor does not just hold a job title. It is an identity, a public declaration that the values you preach, honesty, devotion, faithfulness, are not just Sunday words. They are how you live. The congregation trusts not just your theology but your character. They trust that the man at the front of the room is the same man who goes home at night. Caleb Flynn had been proving that trust catastrophically wrong for a long time. Behind the pulpit, behind the carefully maintained image of a faithful husband and devoted father, Caleb Flynn had been conducting a secret affair. Not a brief lapse, not a moment of weakness. A sustained, deliberate relationship running entirely in the shadow of his marriage and his ministry. 2 lives perfectly separated until they were not. Think about what maintaining that requires. Not just the logistics, the managed phone calls, the constructed alibis, the stories layered on stories. Think about the psychological reality of it. Coming home to Ashley, sitting across from her at dinner, putting those 2 little girls to bed, carrying none of it on your face, then standing before a congregation the next morning and preaching about faithfulness without flinching. That is not a man who made a mistake. That is a man who made a choice, repeatedly, over an extended period, who had become so practiced at performance that the performance had stopped feeling like one. But double lives always reach a breaking point. The weight of two realities accumulates until something gives. For Caleb Flynn, that pressure did not lead to a difficult conversation or a painful divorce. It led to a staged crime scene, a dead wife, and a 911 call built to make murder look like misfortune. And investigators saw through it in 82 hours. Because the affair did something beyond exposing moral failure. It exposed motive. Clear, documented, undeniable motive. A man with a secret relationship he wanted to pursue openly. A man for whom Ashley had quietly become, in his own calculations, the obstacle standing between the life he had and the life he wanted. She was not an obstacle, she was his wife, she was those girls' mother. But that is how he had come to see her. And once investigators understood that, once the affair came into view alongside the staged scene and the forensic evidence, the picture became impossible to misread. This was not a grieving husband. This was not a shocked father. This was a man whose carefully constructed plan had stopped working and who was now sitting in the wreckage of it. He had preached love from a pulpit while quietly destroying it at home. He had stood before people who trusted him completely and performed faithfulness every single week while living the precise opposite. The congregation trusted him. Ashley trusted him. And that trust was the most dangerous thing she ever gave him. Like this video, subscribe to The Hidden Verdict and comment below. How does a man preach faith on Sunday and plan this during the week? We want to know your thoughts. A staged crime scene is a gamble. It is a bet that investigators will look at what you have arranged and accept the story you have written for them. That they will see the damaged door and conclude intrusion. That they will see the forced entry and believe an outside threat. That they will take the performance at face value and never look beneath it. Caleb Flynn made that bet, he lost. When forensic investigators walked through the Flynn home, they were not looking at a break-in. They were looking at a construction, a scene assembled rather than lived. And the difference between genuine chaos and manufactured chaos is something trained investigators do not miss. Real forced entry has a specific texture. The damage comes from force applied from the outside in, fast, under pressure. It is irregular. It is urgent. It looks like desperation. What was found at the Flynn home did not match that pattern. The entry point told investigators that whoever damaged that door had done so with time and control, from a position of deliberate arrangement rather than violent intrusion. The scene had been dressed, and once that became clear, every other element of Caleb Flynn's story collapsed with it. Then came the charges, 11 of them. Aggravated murder, 3 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, 3 separate counts of tampering with evidence, 2 counts of intimidating a witness. Read that list carefully. 3 counts of tampering with evidence means 3 distinct, individually significant acts of interference. Not one panicked decision. 3 deliberate, calculated moves to reach into the truth and reshape it. That is not someone who snapped. That is someone who planned, and then kept planning even after the plan was already unraveling. 2 counts of witness intimidation means someone knew something. Someone had information Caleb Flynn could not afford to have spoken out loud, and rather than trust the scene he had built, he reached out to that person directly and applied pressure. He tried to manage the narrative even from inside a situation that was already beyond his control. That detail alone tells you everything about who Caleb Flynn is. A man still performing, still calculating, still believing that if he could just control enough variables, he could control the outcome. He could not. The staged door identified him. The 11 charges outlined him. And the 82-hour arrest confirmed what the evidence had been saying from the moment investigators walked through that front door. This was not a break-in. This was never a break-in. It was a husband who decided his wife was a problem he could solve, and then built a scene around the solution and called 911 and waited to see if anyone would believe him. They didn't. And the speed with which they stopped believing him should terrify anyone who thought Caleb Flynn was as careful as he believed himself to be. Like this video, subscribe to The Hidden Verdict and comment below which part of the evidence hit hardest: the staged scene, the 11 charges, or the 82-hour arrest.
To charge Ashley's, Tipp City Police Chief Gregory Atkins is calling this case complex, but says investigators had enough evidence for a probable cause to charge Ashley's husband with murder. Caleb is officially being charged with 1 count of homicide, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 2 counts of tampering with evidence. Ashley was shot and killed in her home early Monday morning, and her 2 children were in the home but weren't injured. I spoke with Lauren Smith, a psychology adjunct instructor from Cedarville University, about what the Flynn children may be experiencing and how people should support them.
When a child loses a parent, especially in such a sudden and violent way, the impact goes beyond just grief. And so oftentimes children are not only mourning the loss of somebody that they love and struggling with that grief, they're also having to make sense of a world that all of a sudden doesn't feel as safe to them as it did before. And they're processing through those feelings of, am I safe? In response to this tragedy. Now, grief is a process and it looks different for everybody, and everybody experiences it differently. So some things that might impact the way these children experience grief could be the relationship to the person who is lost. Obviously, this was somebody who was very close to them, and that's going to have a profound impact on them. Other things that could impact the way somebody experiences grief could be their cultural, religious practices, their age, and just developmental understanding of what death is, personality factors, any previous experiences that they've had with death, what social support or familial support looks like around them, and then any additional stressors that might be happening in their lives. So some children, as they're processing through grief, we might see them ask a lot of questions and want information. Other children might become quiet or struggle with irritability as they're trying to make sense of this new world that they're in. And then some children might choose to show their grief through changes in behavior or sleep or attention or ability to, perform in school. I think the best approach is to just be present with them, be in the loss with them, let them know that they're not alone and that their community will rally around them.
There is a moment in every serious criminal case that tells you everything about how the system has assessed the person standing before it. Not the arrest, not the charges, not even the indictment. The bond hearing. Because the bond hearing is where a judge looks at a defendant, at the evidence, at the charges, at the life this person was actually living, and makes a calculation. Not just about flight risk, about the specific weight of what this person did and who they actually are beneath the surface they presented to the world. Caleb Flynn's bond hearing delivered a moment that stopped people cold. The prosecution came in with a number, already significant, already a reflection of 11 charges and a staged murder and a dead wife and 2 children left without a mother. A number that communicated this is serious. This man is not going home. The judge heard the prosecution's number and went higher. $3.5 million, cash, no exceptions. Let that land. $3.5 million is not a bond set for a man who made a terrible mistake. It is not set for someone who acted impulsively in a single moment of crisis. It is set for a man the court has assessed as an extraordinary and calculated danger, a man whose demonstrated capacity for deception, whose sustained double life, whose deliberate construction of a crime scene made the standard bond calculation simply insufficient. The judge looked at Caleb Flynn, worship pastor, American Idol contestant, community figure, man of stated faith, and saw something that required $3.5 million to contain. Think about what that communicates. This is a man who had stood in front of congregations, who had a community that trusted him, who had spent years building a public identity around character and integrity. And after reviewing everything investigators uncovered in 82 hours, the judge looked at that same man and set a number so high the message was impossible to misread. We see you, not the pastor, not the performer, not the grieving husband. We see what the evidence says you are, and you are not walking out of here. Caleb Flynn pleaded not guilty. Of course he did, because not guilty was the only performance left available to him. Every other narrative had collapsed: the break-in, the random intruder, the staged forced entry, the 911 call designed to buy him time. All of it gone. What remained was a courtroom, a judge, and a bond of $3.5 million that said everything without saying a word about guilt directly. He was taken to Miami County Jail, where he remains today. While his daughters grow up without their mother, while Ashley's volleyball court sits without her, while her school carries the permanent shape of an absence that nothing will ever fill. $3.5 million. The judge heard the number and decided it wasn't enough. Like this video, subscribe to the hidden verdict and comment below. When the judge went higher than the prosecution asked, what did that tell you about this case? Caleb Flynn is in Miami County Jail. The bond is set. The charges are filed. The courtroom is waiting. And at some point, a jury will hear the evidence that investigators assembled in 82 hours and deliver a verdict on what he did to Ashley Flynn on the morning of February 16, 2026. That verdict will matter. It will matter to the people who loved her, to the community that trusted him, to every person who sat in that congregation while he led worship and had no idea what was living beneath the surface of the man at the front of the room. But verdicts give you accountability. They do not give you back what was taken. Ashley Flynn was 37 years old. She coached volleyball. She substituted in classrooms where children looked up and saw a woman who showed up fully, not halfway, not reluctantly, but completely. Her school reached for words after she died and found only the ones people use when language runs out. Her smile, her warmth, her kindness, the impact she had on so many. These are not obligatory eulogy words. These are the words of people describing a presence so specific and irreplaceable that its absence physically reshaped the spaces it used to fill. She had 2 daughters, 2 little girls who are growing up in the permanent shadow of what their father did to their mother, who will carry this not as a story they heard, but as the morning everything changed, as the reason their mother was not there for what came next. After Ashley's death, strangers opened their wallets. A GoFundMe for her daughters raised over $166,000. People who had never met her, never watched her coach, never seen her smile, they gave because they needed to do something. Because 2 little girls had been left behind and the world, at least the part paying attention, refused to simply look away. $166,000 cannot replace a mother. Nothing can. And that is the truth sitting at the center of all of it. Beneath the affair and the staged scene and the 11 charges and the bond hearing where a judge heard a number and went higher. Beneath every piece of evidence and every courtroom proceeding still to come, the irreducible, immovable fact of what was actually lost. Not a case, not a headline, not a true crime story. A woman, a mother, a coach, a presence that changed rooms. Caleb Flynn will stand trial. The evidence will speak. The jury will decide. And whatever verdict comes, it will close a legal chapter while leaving the human one permanently, painfully open. The judge set the bond at $3.5 million and told the world exactly how seriously this case deserved to be taken. But the person who deserved that clarity most never got to hear it. Ashley Flynn deserved to know. We are saying it now. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear Ashley's story and subscribe to the hidden verdict. Drop your final verdict in the comments. We read every single one. This has been the hidden verdict.